Good Monday morning to you. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Today, huge testimony expected in the retrial for the convicted mastermind behind the murder of a Minneapolis realtor, Monique Bao. This morning, the girlfriend of the suspect, Lyndon Wiggins, will take the stand. Elsa Segura is herself serving a lengthy prison sentence for her role in Bao's murder. Michelle Beck joins us now with the latest.
Yeah, hey there, Lauren. We know her as Lyndon Wiggins' girlfriend and a former parole agent, a key figure as prosecutors try to convict Wiggins yet again on charges of aiding and abetting first-degree murder in the killing of the real estate agent. And based on this court order I found, we know Elsa Segura will testify. Now serving a 20-year prison sentence, Segura previously admitted to calling Monique Bao on a burner phone and acting like a potential home buyer to lure Bao to where she would be kidnapped. This was all done at Wiggins' request. Prosecutors also referenced Segura in court last week, showing text messages between her and Wiggins complaining about Bao's boyfriend. So that brings us to the big point that prosecutors are trying to make. They say Wiggins orchestrated the plot against Bao so that he could get to her boyfriend.
This morning, we're learning new details about a car crash in Chisago City over the weekend. 2 teens were killed, 3 others were injured. It happened early Saturday morning near Stacy and Ivywood Trail. A 17-year-old and 15-year-old died in the crash. Over the weekend, the Chisago community came together to pay tribute to both victims, creating memorials for them.
You know, part of me still can't believe it's real. Everyone loved him. I mean, all these people loved him more and more. The whole town, everyone loved him.
If you look at the crash, everybody could have died. It's a miracle that anybody survived.
3 victims are currently in the hospital with serious injuries. The crash is still under investigation. The Lakes Area Police Department says alcohol was found at the scene and may have been a factor in the crash. Today, Minneapolis teachers will decide whether or not they're heading to the picket line. Union leaders will tally up strike votes this evening. If the union votes to authorize a strike, it has to give the district 10 days notice. Meanwhile, another mediation session is scheduled for Thursday. In just over a week, hundreds of Allina Health Clinic workers will head to the picket lines. On Friday, members of the Doctors Council gave their 10-day strike notice. The union says Allina refuses to bargain over safe staffing levels and proposed wage cuts. In response, Allina Health says it's, quote, disappointed that workers have decided to strike instead of negotiate. Right now, a Minneapolis woman's family is demanding answers after she was found dead in a lake in Richfield. Ariel Johnson went missing after leaving her South Minneapolis apartment more than 2 weeks ago today. Family filed a missing persons report the next day. About a week after her family says she was last seen, she was found in a pond at the Wood Lake Nature Center. Ariel was 29 years old, and her family says she was a caring soul with a beautiful smile.
I was very, very distraught. I was hoping, praying she was coming home, but
what I knew was
that was not the case.
What happened to my child before the water? That's what I want to know.
Right now, law enforcement says they have limited details on her death. President Trump is in Japan this morning for the next stop on his 3-country Asia tour, all leading up to the highly anticipated meeting with China's president, with word of a break in the stalemate over critical trade deal. NBC's Alice Barr has the details from Washington.
Hi there. President Trump met this morning with Japan's emperor at the Imperial Palace, though China is still center stage because that trade relationship is arguably the most important and most likely to impact prices for American consumers. So word of a framework for a trade deal is welcome news. President Trump arriving in Japan this morning for the second leg of his Asia tour. The president meeting with Japan's emperor before talks later with the country's first female prime minister. The trip set to culminate in a meeting Thursday in South Korea with Chinese President Xi Jinping amid an apparent breakthrough in high-stakes trade talks.
I think we're going to have a successful transaction for both countries.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on NBC's Meet the Press announcing a framework for a trade deal to avoid President Trump's threatened 100% tariff increase on Chinese imports to the U.S.
I believe we've reached a very substantial framework that will avoid that.
Inking a deal would help to wind down the trade war between the world's 2 biggest economies, while at the same time tensions ratcheting up with one of America's closest allies.
Canada has been ripping us off for a long time. One of the most difficult countries to deal with has been Canada.
President Trump doubling down on slapping an additional 10% tariff on goods coming in from Canada because of an anti-tariff Government of Ontario TV ad featuring segments edited from a 1987 radio address by President Reagan.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The ad ran during the World Series over the weekend, but Ontario's premier says it will stop today. No meeting over the weekend when Canada's Prime Minister and President Trump were both in Malaysia for a trade summit, leaving a mixed picture on trade as American businesses and consumers wait for the impact on prices at home. While keeping Canada at arm's length for now, President Trump left the door open to meeting with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and potentially extending his trip to accommodate that. He also said he would visit China's president in Beijing next year and would host him at the White House or Mar-a-Lago in the future. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
This morning, there's a breakthrough in the Louvre jewelry heist. Right now, French police say 2 suspects are in custody and 2 others are still on the run. According to a Paris prosecutor, one of the men was arrested yesterday at the airport as he was trying to leave the country. Authorities have not said if any of the $102 million in stolen jewels have been recovered. This morning, former Viking star Adrian Peterson will appear in court after being arrested for a second time this year. Police arrested Peterson yesterday morning in Texas on charges for driving under the influence and for unlawfully carrying a weapon. Back in April, he was arrested here in Minnesota on a charge of driving while impaired. After today's meeting with a judge, Peterson will be eligible to post bail. Taking a look now from Kingston, Jamaica this morning, where Hurricane Melissa is creeping closer right now. Just a few hours ago, the storm was upgraded to a massive Category 5 hurricane with winds whipping up to 160 miles per hour. People who live near any of the coasts are being forced to evacuate inland to avoid horrific storm surge that's expected to be several feet high. Melissa is expected to make landfall in Jamaica sometime this week, though the exact strength is not yet known. For nearly 2 months now, Blue Ribbons in and around Minneapolis have reminded us all of the tremendous heartbreak caused by the Annunciation mass shooting that killed 2 children and injured 30 others. But now those ribbons are coming down. Ian Russell's in South Minneapolis to share what's next.
Like the leaves around us, change is a part of life.
Beautiful day.
Ask Sarah Henning.
I don't think the change is hard. I think the change is good.
And that change feels right. Blue and green ribbons have dotted trees and light poles by the thousands in the wake of the Annunciation shooting, a reminder of heartbreak and grief. Now changing, not to forget.
It's also not as hard to take them down because we know what they're being used for.
But to keep that memory going.
We've got a group coming today to help us take them all down so they can be repurposed.
Bow by bow.
So we'll just start here.
The bows of love will be removed.
Start, and then I'm laying them out like this.
Ready to be repurposed, requested by the Annunciation students.
Art being a part of it, the kids and their teacher also came up with that idea.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Sarah Henning says it's not clear what that art will look like, but that's not the point.
What that will be and what that will look like, we don't know, because that's part of the process.
A chance to remember and honor.
My children both attended Annunciation.
For all those affected.
We actually went down to some of our neighbors and we just sat together and cried and hugged, and because it was just such an unbelievable experience. So.
Change is never simple, but this change couldn't feel more right.
I think we've got good reason for these to come down, and that's what makes the change okay.
Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.